Let's Get This Over With. No, I mean, the song is called Let's Get This Over With by Gary Floater. My body's here, but my mind's at home. One more hour till I'm spending time alone. I'd like to thank you all for bringing money here, but at this time I wish that I could disappear.
Telling us when and how you discovered Gary Floater's music.
I discovered Gary Floater's music through a friend, and we were riding around in the van a really long time ago, and it was way back when our van had a tape deck, so we just had one of those things where the tapes were all, and it was like Johnny Paycheck and Ray Price Greatest Hits, and then it was like one of those tapes that was, you say burned now, but just recorded like I don't know, they maybe live or something. I don't know how they got it, but it was a white piece of paper and handwritten in a blue ballpoint pen. It just said Gary Floater. And somehow I wanted to listen to that one. And so I picked it up, and we actually had to pull over the van because everybody was so into the recording that we didn't want to drive anymore. And we just sat there and were just amazed by this guy that we'd never heard of before.
I first heard of him, I guess I'd heard people whisper about him or really kind of bitch about him and some of his behavior. I saw him first time when at a gig. It wasn't backstage. It was actually at the front door. I stepped over him to get into the club. He was, I guess, asleep, and but that's when I first saw him. I didn't see his face.
I have always known about Gary Floater's music since I was a kid. I grew up with a lot of country music and things like that, and my parents had Gary Floater records. So when I was 20 years old, I had the chance to tour with Gary as an opener, and I was really excited to meet him. Thought maybe it was my big chance to meet him and do some touring and maybe get to know him a little bit. And the first day of the tour was in Omaha, Nebraska. And before the show, he was set up with a big, table full of 8 tracks and tapes and things like that. And I was a sheepish, young, shy musician. And walked up to Gary and said, "Mr. Floater, my name's Brennan Lee. I'll be opening up for you the next 2 weeks. And it's an honor. Nice to meet you." And he said, "Nice to meet you too." And I picked up one of his CDs absentmindedly, and he said, "Would you like to have that one?" And I said, well, sure. And he said, "It's $20. So that was my first meeting with Gary Floater. He's still my hero. Major asshole. Something like that.
Well, I met him when I was very young, but I didn't remember. I think I suppressed the memory. But then I was playing with he looks kind of like Jesus. Oh, he's Carl. Yeah. And they reintroduced me, and they were a little worried because I kind of got really quiet for a while, and so started screaming uncontrollably for a minute, and then I got over it, and I really liked the words that he puts together.
I discovered Gary Floater one night. Well, I kind of playing in the songwriting community for a lot of years. Lots of other songwriters talked a lot about Gary Floater, and they would say, steer clear of Gary Floater, stay away from that guy. And so I'd heard that, but never really had any opportunity to interact with him or steer clear of him. And one night, I was playing a show with my brother in Lake McMurtry, Texas, and when we got there, I noticed that there was a dartboard on the stage, and they were some folks throwing darts at the stage, and then mercifully they quit throwing the darts before it was time to start playing. So we set up and started playing. So then all of a sudden, here comes this old guy with the cowboy hat and beard and some shades. And, he all of a sudden he got a bunch of darts and he started throwing them at the dartboard. We were ducking, trying not to get hit by the darts. And my brother leaned over and said, "Hey, is that Gary Floater?" And I said, "I think so, And so we ducked the darts for the majority of the gig, and then Gary disappeared. We were relieved by that, but then at the end of the gig, we went to get paid, and the manager, the lady that ran the beer joint said, "Well, I already paid your manager." It's that guy with the beard and the shades and the cowboy hat said he was your manager. So not only did Gary Floater throw some darts at us while we were trying to play our show, he made off with our money.
Gary is, of all the country artists, Gary is the most masculine, and he kind of defines masculinity within and without his songs. And, no matter how country you think you are, Gary's more countryer than you.
When we sing together, there's a certain kind of chemistry. And it's because I understand him. And I do think that when he writes a song that's gonna have a harmony, he's thinking about my voice, and he's heard me make some funny sounds. So he knows what my voice is capable of.
Talk about Thanks Me and how that song sort of connected with you.
Well, Buddha says, I don't think Buddha actually says anything. I think they just sort of sit there. But what people say Buddha says is that love yourself and watch. And I often love myself, and I use the camera on my phone to record myself loving myself and watch. And so that's what I do. Thanks me for the songs, always sang them right, never wrote them wrong. Congratulations me, the place should have been packed. I say thank you to me, pat myself on the back. Thanks me.
Really, I think Floater just blows me away with how incredibly stupid and genius he is at the same time. It's really, I'm not sure how these songs can be both some of the stupidest songs I've ever heard and some of the most genius songs I've ever heard.
I guess because he's so irresponsible. Like all good artists seem to be like, just don't have their shit together, and he's got his shit the least together of anybody I've ever met, so he probably should have a double album.
Stupidly simple. I think that's the best way to say it.
Took my mom to the Lubies after Friday night's football game. Man at the checkout line said, "There goes old what's her name." She said, "You ought not to talk that way about the people who raised you up." So I stared him down and I clenched my fist. I said, "Mama, get in the truck."
I've had a lot of heroes in my life, and I feel like the heroes in Gary's songs,
they really speak to me in a way that's almost like listening to another language. And what I mean by that is I don't understand them.
Okay. So when you discovered Gary, what was it that drew you to his songwriting?
There's nothing about his songwriting that really drew me to him. I was repulsed.
Let me kiss you with her. I'll put my finger on it first. Dancing while my flashlight shines, that you see from time to time. Let me kiss you where it hurts.
I would never say that.
So grass.
It's so nasty.
Yeah.
That's why I picked this one, because it's out of character. And I would never eat any of the things in this song. All right.
1, 2, 3.
I really shouldn't. I'm stuffed. You think I'd had enough? Eat till I shit.
My blood sugar is rising up like a great speckled bird. Such a terrible disease, such a funny word.
You can get physical all you want, but we're gonna make it stick. With some good old apple pie and a big old eagle dick.
He died with a heart on, but we won't talk about that.
Song that actually, he's so good with his subtleties that you listen to when the eagle screams and you think it's just about a bird, but it's not. It's politics. And his metaphors are so strong, and I can't do that. I can't write something and go, they're never gonna know what this is. Somebody really smart's gonna have to figure this out. But he did, and I had to listen to that song 4 times before I figured out that it wasn't actually about a bird screaming.
Look out if you're gonna take pot shots at these American dreams. 'Cause just when you ain't watching, yeah, that's when the evil screams.
And all the way down a big old shelf of magazines wrapped in plastic, I did not even bat an eye. I just walked on past it. I'm holding on so tight to thoughts of you at home. These late nights on the road make a man feel alone.
I really love that song. It really touches me. It touches me really hard because I masturbate so much, and the song is about masturbation, and that's just about my favorite topic. Most of my songs are about masturbation, and I love it so much that it's hard for me to talk about.
Okay.
That's what I call the lake here in Austin, Sunburned Lake. So when I heard that song, I thought, wow, that was like my words. It was like he was speaking from my heart. And it was like he was saying everything that I wanted to put in a song, but I couldn't because I'm not Gary Floater. And so I really related to the necklace. I've always worn a necklace.
Summertime, sunshine, lake bum, sunburned, assholes on a boat. Right?
When I finally did talk to him, it was, I think it was at a casino or at a beach. I don't remember. But the night went on, and the talk went to Roadhouse, as it happens a lot. Roadhouse, the movie, and I was kind of marveling at the line, Pain Don't Hurt, and I mentioned that to Floater, and then months later I heard that he made a song out of it. I don't think he got the irony in the line, that I made it funny to me. Pain Don't Hurt. Great line by Patrick Swayze.
Pain don't hurt, tears don't cry, leaves don't fall, death don't die.
We were recording the song that you knew these guys. You knew Delbert, but you knew he wasn't the one you knew the best, right?
Right. I mean, I met Delbert before when, one time we went dove hunting together. I mean, not just the two of us. We was on a big dove hunt, and Delbert was one of those kind that don't clean his own birds. Which just, you shouldn't go on a dove hunt if you ain't gonna clean your own birds. But I knew Eddie real well. I mean, Eddie, Gary really captured Eddie in this song, and it makes me real emotional whenever I get to those lines, because Eddie was always taking off his clothes, when you just least expect it, you could be at the Walmart and, you're looking at the PlayStations and stuff, thinking about Christmas, what you gonna get the kids, and he just start taking off his pants, It's why he always wore flip-flops, so he didn't have to unlace no shoes or, have a thing to take off his boots. He was ready, We were up on the spillway, oh, they said the dam was closed. We were taking in the view when Eddie took off his clothes. Of a Mad Dog 20, then he raised a rebel yell. Well, Eddie sure could whoop and holler, but he couldn't swim too well.
Desert Rose Cantina in Phoenix, AZ can be a lonely old place for a singer like me. Pretty peroxide blonde sitting close to the stage, 36, 24, and a third of my age. She's looking at this cowboy with a 6-inch hair. Stand back, boys, I'm fixing to care. Stand back, boys, I'm fixing to care.
That one goes way back, again, when I was learning how to play guitar, it just was one of the first ones. How do you express that you're interested? There's love songs. There's been love songs forever in the history of music, and to find a new way to say that is always it's always a challenge. But stand back, boys. I'm fixing to care. I mean, that says it all in a way that's never been done before.
Describe what it was like to be married to Gary Floater.
It was an adventure, I'd have to say. He was, well, I can't really say anything. My mama said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So I can't really say anything about that. But we had Burden. Burden is doing all right now, I think. I just bailed him out, so hope he's doing all right.
One night I was in Kansas City at Knucklehead Saloon. I was fortunate enough to be in the audience that night to watch Gary play a show, and he actually didn't show up to play the show. He showed up for a jam after hours, but he brought his kid with him, and we all watched him. A couple guys on stage passing a guitar around, and every time it was Gary's turn, he handed Burden to somebody else, and I thought, man, that's a guy who really cherishes his music.
So, how did you choose the name Burden for your son?
There's the truth. You guys got a real nice place here. I wish I had carpet on my walls. I'd just come home and it wouldn't matter where I fell. That's nice. That's real something. It's real nice. You guys really got it going on. I like that.
Questions about your son Burden?
Yeah. It was the truth. It was the truth. It was honest name. He came by it honestly.
think that Burden is a beautiful name. I wish that I would have thought of that before. Roy and I did consider naming our third child Oops, but someone thought that that would not be cool, so then we just named him Thomas Roy instead. But I think that Burden, Money Trap, Time Suck, all of those are great children's names as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he's a hell of a lover.
Describe his lovemaking technique.
Well, I don't talk from the sheets, you know. I mean, I heard he's a hell of a lover.
There was that one time when we were on the road, Gary Floater was opening for the Gourds. That was back before he was big time, you know. We were cool. We would let him stay in our hotel rooms, you know. So not only that, but we could stay in the same bed. That was when we'd share beds. Like the Gourds would do 2 hotel rooms, 2 guys in each bed. Like, and we would there was a fine line. Like, you don't cross that line. That's that guy's side of the bed. This is my side of the bed. Sometimes on the road, you might drink too much. Might be a late night. Anyways, I was sleeping after a show in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, Gary Floater was like on top of me like this, staring at me. I think he thought I was his wife or girlfriend. And then, of course, I stopped him, you know, and then he woke up. So it was like sleep loving, not sleepwalking.
I remember one time, Floater, we were over at Folk Alliance, and a whole bunch of musicians kind of hang out in the hotel room for a weekend. And we were all jamming out, you know, and we were being pretty, you know, I guess respectful, maybe you could say. But then Gary came out and just started whipping everybody into a kind of a frenzy, you know. I mean, we were outside of the Oklahoma room, and he kept saying something about David Allen Coe, and things just got kind of weird, and they got kind of loud. Somebody brought a flute out. It was an interesting night. And then I guess we were pretty loud because Jenni Finlay came out of her hotel room in her pajamas, you know, and she said, "Floater, you know better than that. You get the hell out of here." And yeah, I mean, it pretty much broke that whole thing up, and we all just left, you know. And but I think secretly he was kind of sad about that, you know. I never really seen him cry before, but I feel like as I was packing up my guitar, there was like a little Singer Floater tear kind of like going down his cheek, you know. He was a little bit more sensitive than he might have let on, you know.
Yeah, well, I think it was about 1996. I was at the old Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia, which everybody misses it, but it sounded terrible compared to the new Birchmere. But you know, Floater we were doing a co-bill there, and I was complaining about the monitors. There was a buzz in the monitors, and I still cared about that kind of thing. And Gary looked and yelled at me and said, "James, I try to get a buzz every day. It's okay."
No, at a Butch Hancock gig when he did No to Alike in 4 nights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was there the last night, and he walked in and sang one line and then walked out the back door.
Oh, yeah.
Butch
said like he didn't see him for another 6 months or something.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah.
You know, after we discovered Gary, we kind of looked him up and reached out to him because he was not doing very well, and we thought, what a pity that he's such a great songwriter and he's like stuck in some house somewhere just smoking cigarettes all day. And so we reached out to him, and he started coming and playing gigs with us a little bit here and there. And this is an older band that I had. And then all of a sudden we would show up. Well, first our bass player moved in with him. I'm not really sure why, but bass player lived there. So that ended up being our spot where we would go and load into the van before every weekend. And eventually Gary just started walking out with him and going, "Where y'all going this weekend?" We go, "Well, Oklahoma City and then up to Kansas." And he'd just go, "All right, cool." And he'd go inside and get a duffel bag and some cigarettes and a pillow, and he'd jump in the van. And he basically lived in our van for like 3 years. Like I can still, that like the smell of booze and cigarettes and weed and shame just like is burned into my memory so much that when I go to the dumpster behind a bar, I go, it smells like Gary Floater out here.
One of the first times that I saw Gary Floater live, waited so long to see him live, and went to the Continental Club. He was playing. Stepped out back and was having smoke, and was standing back kind of by the dumpsters by the back door, and I looked over and saw he was standing underneath the tree over there having a cigarette by himself. And so I took a drag of my cigarette, and I heard this like thump, loud noise. And I was like, oh, I wonder if he fell over. Did he fall over dead? What's happening? And I looked over, and there was this huge rat snake that had fallen from the tree right next to the back door at the Continental, It had fallen from the tree right at his feet. And it was this like 3-foot rat snake. And I looked over, and he looked down at it. And the rat snake looked back up at him. And then it scurried off across the street. And he walked back towards the back door. He's going in for his second set, and he took a drag of his cigarette and flicked it across the street. And he said, even rat snakes know not to fuck with Gary Floater. And I was like, wow. That's right.
A lot of people have been saying that Gary Floater is the Townes Van Zandt of his generation. What do you think about that?
Yes.
Okay. My last question is, as a mother, what does it say to you about Gary that he named his kid Burden?
I think that's a beautiful name.
Okay, that's going on that thing.
Have you ever worn a rubber mask? That shit is comfortable.
Well, I couldn't see much inside Gary's house because when we went to his house, none of the lights was on. So we'd use like matches and lighters to kind of see our way through there, and I thought, from the outside of the house there was lots of windows, so I thought, it wouldn't be any big deal, but when you went inside there was tinfoil on the windows, so it was real energy efficient, he's real concerned with that.
That's perfect.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Oh man.
You have to put the reverb on it.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Even the cough.
The wind for the lemons.
Start off by telling us how you discovered Gary, his music.